um, your lives are going well and that your relationship with God is growing, that you're moving into the next phase of wherever He's taking you. I know I haven't been on here as much lately. I just haven't felt the pull to be, I guess. I feel like I don't know. I've said all there is to say sometimes, about the things that are coming, but I've been thinking about doing this video. I've just been kind of busy, but each year I like to do a video about what I see um, as most probable for the coming year, the events, the prophetic timeline, the things that I feel like are probably going to happen this year. So I've been doing that the last couple of years. Last year, we talked about how 2022 would be a year of financial woes. And we talked about uh, also some changes in the weather and the green agenda, some of that stuff. One thing that didn't come to pass last year that I thought probably would, that I imagine uh, will happen this year, is the upheaval of governmental structures. I think for 2023, um, obviously war will be at the forefront. Um, we can already see NATO and Russia lined up against each other. I do think that will spread to other areas. I think the NATO Russia war will definitely reach a whole new level, but I do also expect war to probably kick off in the Middle East as well. I don't think the stuff in Taiwan with China goes parabolic yet this year. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think probably Europe and the Middle East will be the war fronts this year. And I've been wondering and thinking if they'll start calling it a world war. I mean, we're getting closer to that point when enough countries are involved that they maybe begin calling it that. Um, I think also for 2023, we will see the rise of AI. I think you're starting to see it with Chat GPT. I have said for many years, and I still believe this, that AI will be the image of the beast described in the book of Revelation. Um, the beast, I believe, in that context uh, would be man. Like 666 is the number of man times three. Um, so I think it kind of that's representative of the portion of us that is not of God. The fallen man, the fallen portion of man. And I think AI is the image of that portion of man. It's the image of the portion of man that is not spirit, but is of flesh and of the mind. And AI has been created as an accumulation of all of the knowledge of man. I don't know if many of you have had the opportunity to use Chat GPT yet, but that's only the portion of AI that they are releasing to the public. You can only imagine what they really have. And people are already talking in podcasts about this being a replacement for God. And we know that the Bible says that people will worship the image of the beast. This is already this dialogue of worshiping AI and chat through Chat GPT, which is just a small iteration of it, is already being had. You can ask this thing pretty much any question, and um, it will look through all of the knowledge that it has learned from the internet to answer your question. So it seems somewhat all knowing, I guess you could say. And as later iterations of this come out, it will seem more and more that way. And so people will begin having conversations with AI instead of having conversations with God and looking to it for their answers instead of looking to God for their answers. And eventually, what you'll see is people's trust and faith in AI will grow to such a level that they will allow it to be in charge of what laws are put in place and what governmental structures look like and so forth. So the reason I'm talking about that is because another thing that you're going to see this year has a lot to do with that. So crypto has a lot to do with AI, if you don't already know that. Um, Blockchain technology allows programs to take the place of people. And this narrative about decentralization of power through the blockchain, what it really does is it's giving a program the control instead of giving people the control. Once you upload everything onto the blockchain, which is the goal, that's what they would like to do. Once everything is uploaded onto the blockchain, social media, voting, um, banking system, corporations, I mean, real estate, you name it. They want to upload it all to the blockchain. Once that happens, you can essentially give control of everything on the blockchain to an AI system. And you can have an AI system control all of the resources of the world. And I think that's the eventual goal because that's what'll give the Antichrist the ability to run the world as a single person, pretty much. Yeah, he'll do it with AI. So I think something that you're going to see increasingly this year is um, is movement of things onto blockchain. We talked about last year that Elon Musk would take control of Twitter and that one of his initiatives would be to move Twitter onto the blockchain, and that would be the beginning um, of you seeing other social media platforms do the same thing and other companies do the same thing. I think we'll probably hear an uptick of that conversation this year, if not the beginnings of that movement. Um, in terms of the economy, what I think we'll see, this is my opinion, I think we'll see a leveling out of things for a few months, and then I see it walking off of a cliff sometime mid-year. That's what I think. I think it walks off of a cliff in mid-year. And I think that may be the same time frame that we see the cryptocurrency crash as well. So I think in the beginning of the year, we'll see a rise in cryptocurrencies, an exponential rise, a spike in cryptocurrencies for the next few months. And I would think that will probably also happen in the stock market. And then around mid-year, we get the big crash. So some of the things that I've shared about dreams I've had about setting buy limit orders for cryptocurrencies for the upcoming crash, that would be a good thing to put in place. I think we'll see that crash this year. I think this is the year that happens. I think also the rise of certain prophetic coins that many people in the body of Christ have had dreams about. I think they see their time this year. I think Luna Classic and Shiba Inu and maybe Electronium. I think that those are the ones that really take off this year. I don't think XRP takes off quite yet. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's first the more like the meme coins like the Shiba Inus and the Luna Classics, maybe Electronium, and then when they're up maybe 20-30x from where they're at now, is probably the timing of the crash. Then they bounce back up and then they really take off. And then I think around the end of the year, or the beginning of next year, we see XLM take off. And then I'm thinking probably mid 2024 for XRP, but that's just my opinion. That's not something I know for sure. Um, I'm I would still plan to hold some XRP even before that time frame, but I would be, as long as it's low, I would continue to accumulate that. But I see that being kind of the last one of the prophetic coins that we've been shown to take off. I think XRP is probably the final one of those. Let's see what else. I think uh, I think the weather we will continue to see major changes in the weather. uh, what the ultimate goal is, for the upcoming changes in. I see someone asked if I think Luna Classic will hit 20 cents this year. I mean, I think that could definitely be possible. I think at least 10 to 12 cents would be my guess, but yeah, 20 cents could be possible, I guess. I do think the rise happens this year, though, for that one, into the sense. Um, the green agenda. The ultimate goal with that is to create government structures and laws that control people and control their assets and their buying power based on the green agenda, right? So once everything is put onto the blockchain and once our banking system is crypto based, what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to track people's purchases and set up a system by which it tracks carbon credits based on what you buy, and you'll be allotted only so much in terms of carbon credits. And once you reach that threshold, your purchasing power will be cut off, and they'll be able to control a lot of things based on that, your movement, your travel, right? That's like their longer term goal. So what they need to do is they need to continue to correlate the changes in weather to that green agenda. The real reason why the weather is changing is Planet X. I think a lot of you know that. It's the incoming planet that is causing um, the major changes in climate, but they want to use those changes in order to gain control, and so they need a narrative around it. So I would believe that this year you'll continue to see that narrative being put out as you see the changes in weather. Eventually, the changes in weather will become so severe that they become one of the primary problems that people have to deal with, and it won't be something at the back of people's mind at some point. I don't think this is the year that necessarily happens, but I think that they need to continue um, to push that narrative to the forefront. So I think you'll see that. Uh, there were a couple other things. I do think a nuclear weapon will probably be used this year. Maybe more than one. I'm not sure. I'm thinking probably in Europe or in the Middle East. I think once a nuclear weapon is used, it will create a platform by which they can assert more control and create more laws. Um, so I would imagine either Russia uses it, maybe somewhere in Europe, or Israel uses it in the Middle East, or the U.S. does some sort of false flag but I do think a nuclear weapon will be likely to be used this year. So what do we have so far? We have an uptick in war, NATO Russia war, Middle East war, use of a nuclear weapon. We have a economic rise during the first few months of the year and falling off a cliff mid-year. We have crypto crash probably mid-year. We have the rise of Luna Classic and Shiba Inu this year. Maybe Electronium. Um, what else? Those are probably the main things that I've been thinking about, that I've been projecting for the year 2023. I do want to talk a little bit about the callings for God's people, that some of his people will begin stepping into. There's a calling for Joseph's, and that is going around the prophetic communities in regard to the wealth transfer that is taking place and the way God's positioning some of his people for that wealth transfer. Um, Joseph was put in power and given riches and given wisdom uh, during a time where God wanted to protect his people during a famine. And we're going to go into a time in this world where there is something like that, where there is major economic problems that affect a lot of people. And so the reason that God is positioning some of his people to be recipients of the wealth transfer that'll be taking place anyway is so that they can be Josephs and so that they can help provide during that time. So for those people this year, I would expect for that to begin. You'll begin to have more resources. You should remember that as those come in, uh, it's important to be faithful with them, to ask God for wisdom in how He wants you to use that wealth, because it's those who are faithful with little that He gives much to. It's those who are faithful with the beginnings of that He'll continue to give increase to. So if you want to walk in the fullness of that calling, be sure that from the start of that wealth transfer, you're seeking wisdom from the Lord. That doesn't mean that He won't let you use some of that for some dreams that you have for yourself or your family or your loved ones. I think He's cool with that. But just don't go to the extreme and think that He wants you to be out buying yachts and big airplanes and things. I think we should be thinking about starting to set up the beginnings of the structures that will be needed to support people during the economic collapse and ensuing depression that comes upon the world. That's where I think our thought process should be if you're in the Joseph camp this year. I believe here there's another mantle, the the Moses mantle that he is also giving out. Those are going to be people who are in leadership positions in the current church system. So the church will come under a time of persecution, it will come under a time of attack. I believe the IRS will be involved in that, and there'll be other ways that they attack the church. And the economic collapse is going to cause a lot of churches to also go out of business. But as these changes happen, this is within the Lord's plan, there will be a movement to be back in the homes, to have churches in the homes again. And there will be leadership needed to bring people out of the system and into the new thing that God is calling them into. That's what Moses did. He was placed in the system of Egypt, just as some of you maybe have been placed into leadership positions in the church system. And he did it so that Moses would be familiar with that system and would know how to work within it, so that when it came time, he would be able to lead God's people out of it And so there is a Moses mantle that's been placed on some of God's people. And that calling, I think will begin to be needed this year. So we have the Joseph mantle this year, we have the Moses mantle this year, and I believe there's also an Elijah mantle this year. And these are the people that are going to be called to show God's glory to those who are worshiping the world and have been worshiping money and material things. Just like Elijah showed the worshipers of Baal the power of the true God when he showed that God would burn the sacrifice and Baal couldn't. The same thing I believe will be upon some of God's people to show as Baal is shown to be powerless, as the world system begins to come down, begins to crumble, material things are stripped away, and the worship of Baal comes to nothing. There will be an opportunity to show those people the power of the true God. And so some people are called to that. So I would say, prophetically speaking, something to seek the Lord's wisdom about this year would be what mantle he has for you. I'm sure there are other mantles. Those are the ones that have kind of been shown to me. And so you might be in one of those three camps, but you might be in another camp too. And so I would seek God's wisdom about that specifically going into this year. I think that's about all I had for you. It's good to check in. I miss being on here and putting out videos, but like I said, I've just felt recently like I've said everything. Like I've warned and given out the dreams and said the things that are going to come to pass so many times that I just haven't had much to say. But if I do have more to say, I'll be sure to put it out to you. I love you all, and I hope to see you soon. If not here, then in the air. God bless. Bye.